Palace. Some have called it the British Supreme, but to say that doesn't really give Palace the respect it truly deserves. No brand seems to be more tapped into the skate world's zeitgeist than Palace is. And I mean, yes, Palace is younger than Supreme as a brand by nearly 2 decades. And yes, they did benefit from traveling a similar path to the one laid by Supreme on the other side of the pond in regards to mainstream apparel, hype, and commercial success. But Palace is something all its own. It has a distinctively British feel that can only come from a vibrant street life of London. Last week we did a video on the rise and pseudo-fall of Supreme, from where they started out at to the corporate state that they find themselves in now. But this week we'll cover another brand with a similar theme and road to the top. Only this one decided to veer off on a slightly different path as they traveled down said road. I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com, and this is the rise of Palace Clothing and Skateboards. Before we get started, don't forget to smash that like button for us. Liking the video helps us out in the search so that we can get more eyes on our stuff, which we so desperately need right now. We can't do it without you guys' help, so with that being said, let's jump right in. It all started in an apartment near Waterloo Station in London, England towards the end of the 2000s. It wasn't as much an apartment as it was a point of reference for all the UK skaters. A family of sorts, started by Lev Tanju and his skater friends. The apartment in question was actually reported to be a scumhole. It was filthy and nobody in their right mind would actually enjoy living there, but for $100 a month and in London, you couldn't really beat those prices. In an ironic tongue-in-cheek play on things, the group took to calling the place, quote, the Palace, and referred to themselves as Palace Wayward Boys Choir. In 2009, Lev teamed up with his friend Gart Skewers of Slam City Skate and decided that they wanted to try their hand of a skateboard brand of their own. They would fittingly name this project Palace. After choosing the name, which was actually pretty easy, they needed a logo to reflect what the brand would come to represent. Lev reached out to Ferguson Purcell, also known as Fergadelic, who had previously worked with Stussy, and they would create a design that took inspiration from the Penrose Triangle, an impossible tri-bar, or a triangle impossible object. What the hell is that, you might ask? It's an optical illusion consisting of an object which can be depicted as a perspective drawing but can't exist as a solid object. Affectionately known as the Tri-Ferg, this will become the design immortalized as the Palace logo. A child of the 90s, the first collection played heavy on the aesthetics of British club culture and 90s pop icons. The collection was simple but sweet, consisting of tracksuits, sweatshirts, and tactical pants, all oozing with a certain British authenticity. As for the skateboard side of things, Tanju wanted to build something that represented the skaters that he admired, and he wanted to offer them the kind of support that he felt they weren't getting. Tanju spotted an opening, stating, quote, I could support my friends better than what they were getting and pay them more than what they were able to get paid. The Tri-Ferg logo quickly became emblematic of an emerging generation of skaters who were excited to embrace new ideas about what skate brands are and what they make. There were a couple of designs by Tanju that really supercharged Palace's reputation. Specifically the ripoff of the Versace Medusa head logo, famously worn by Rihanna, and the one of the Chanel Double C. Palace mixed 90s streetwear with bench-made opulence, well before the days of high fashion's obsession with streetwear. Shortly after launching, they began to pick up steam in the UK. They were being carried by several stores, including the Hideout in East London. And in 2011, Supreme would open up their first Euro store based in London. But despite the perceived competition between the two brands from the outside looking in, they actually had no problems working together. Supreme would use one of the Palace skate team members, Lucian Clark, in a lookbook shoot. And on opening day, they even offered some of the Palace pieces in the Supreme store. The Palace realized that they were onto something. They began to host pop-up shops of their own, known as the Palace Retail Power Slide. The brand by now was doing so well that in April of 2015, only 6 years after originally launching, Palace announced that they will be opening a flagship store of their own in London's famed Soho district. The shop was actually not too far from the Supreme London location. Palace would embrace the comparisons to Supreme. After all, why wouldn't they? I'm sure they were very flattered to be compared to a brand that was that huge in the industry and had been around twice as long as they had been. The brand would continue to do numbers in the land of tea and crumpets, and around 2 years after opening their London location, Palace decided that they wanted to invade Supreme's home turf in New York City. Yeah, the British were coming. They had a system worked out so as to not step on the toes of Big Brother Supreme. Supreme does their drops on Thursday, so Palace did theirs on Friday. Palace has worked with a wide range of brands since the founding in 2009. The label's tongue-in-cheek designs and Britain-inspired aesthetics have made it the perfect partner for cult brands and bands that throughout the years. Some of the more notable collabs have been with Evisu, Umbro, Happy Mondays, Moschino, Reebok, and Adidas. The connection between the brand and music was strong as well. Will Bankhead was a tenant of the Palace as well as a skater, but he also had another passion for music. He actually designed the first boards for the brand, but decided to found his own independent record label, the Trilogy Tapes. They would produce a collaboration between Trilogy and Palace called Chicago, Detroit, London. On November 3rd, 2018, Palace would open their third location in Japan. The opening was preceded by a Fall/Winter 18 lookbook shoot by Jürgen Teller in the Japanese capital of Tokyo. It was accompanied by a cheeky video featuring Jonah Hill. Palace, unlike Supreme, as we said, drops on Friday, but always at 12 o'clock. As with Supreme, buying Palace items were pretty difficult given the enormous success of the brand and all the hype that surrounded it. The buying experience online is similar to Supreme as well. You know, you wake up, open your computer, prepare with your items that you want, get your credit card ready, and good luck to you. In the store, Friday morning is pretty hard to get into any of the three locations. Also, like Supreme, the items fly off the shelf very fast. Resale, for many, is really the only way to get their hands on some of the most prized pieces. By bringing fashion to skate, Tanju has made his skaters more marketable than ever, without asking them to be something that they're not. Quote, "I stood by my word. I love them very dearly," he says. And now they get paid well, and they don't have to wait and get paid late. Which I'm assuming is him taking shots at some of the other skate brands, but okay. Tanju's original ambition to do right by skaters and help create new financial opportunities for them has worked out better than he imagined. Today, Palace skaters are launching major campaigns of their own and collaborations with other brands across the fashion universe. Lucien Clark, who has been skating for Palace since the beginning, got his own pro skate shoe designed by Virgil Abloh for Louis Vuitton. And Blondie McCoy, an early Palace team rider who's no longer with the brand, went on to have a modeling career with representation from Kate Moss's agency and launched a skate-influenced London-centric fashion brand of his own. Most of the PWBC crew still ride for or works at Palace today, and many of them are cult heroes for skaters around the world. To date, the Tri-Ferg logo has been worn by players at Wimbledon, by the Raffle Pro cycling team, and on a Mercedes-AMG GT3 race car during the Nuremberg 24-hour race. Rihanna, Jonah Hill, and Jay-Z have all repped for the brand in one way or another. And not to mention, Palace has made sneakers with Reebok, Adidas, and Vans, which is a rare footwork trifecta. The list of collaborators also includes Stella Artois, North Face, and Ralph Lauren, which was a particular milestone for the brand. So from the outside looking in, Palace was living up to its rep as the British Supreme. But what did Palace do that Supreme has not done? Or vice versa, or however you want to look at it. Well, for one, Palace never went corporate the way Supreme did. To this day, Palace is still owned by Lev Tanju, who views it as his dream. He always wanted to have a brand and support his friends and fellow skaters that he was a fan of. And I think it's this drive that pushes him to remain true to the original goal. I mean, as we pointed out in the Supreme video, somewhere along the line, Supreme lost its soul in pursuit of the corporate green. Palace, on the other hand, does get the corporate green as we described earlier, but they seem to live more by the age-old adage, make the money, don't let the money make you. I wanted to do a video highlighting Palace, but I didn't want to include it in the Rise and Fall series because Palace is not dead. After all these years, they're still around and healthy as ever. And in my opinion, it's because they stuck to their roots and remained close to their core fan base. Ever since the days when the Palace lads were hanging around their South London flophouse, that sly and irrelevant humor has been their defining trademark. Palace dreams big, and they have a good time. I mean, who wouldn't want to be a part of that? Lev Tanju was quoted in saying, "I don't know how to run a business, to be honest with you. We just do what we want to do, and it's working great," end quote. But what do you think? Are you a fan of Palace? Have you been down with the brand since day one? Hit us in the comment section and let us know. Also, if you made it this far, then that must mean you liked the video, and if so, please smash that like button for us, because smashing the like button helps us continue to grow and spread our reach to a wider audience and get our videos seen, and hopefully finally start to grow our sub count and view count a lot more. And we can't do it without you guys' help. So we really need you to smash that like button, and if you could, share the video on other platforms. And if you haven't already, then hit that subscribe button and the notification bell to be updated every time we drop a new video just like this one, which we do once a week. But with that being said, I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com signing out. Until next time, peace.